Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism National Workshop on the Caribbean Community-Based Tourism Toolkit. We would like to thank everybody for being here with us today to take in the understanding of this vital workshop that was developed by the Caribbean Tourism Organization and Complete Caribbean Partnership Facility. Today, I would like to recognize the Permanent Secretary of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Reginald Sanders. Also, Technical Coordinator for Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, Wayne Elliott. And you all who have signed up and registered to be here with us today. We will start firstly with an opening prayer by Mr. Benjamin Pratt, followed by an introduction of the Permanent Secretary of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. Mr. Pratt, please unmute your mic.
Thank you, Duran. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, it is with grateful hearts that we welcome you, the presence of your Holy Spirit amongst us in this community-based tourism toolkit national workshop, sponsored by the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism, Compete Caribbean Facility, and the Caribbean Tourism Organization. We thank you for the gifts of life and health, as well as for the hard work and dedication of our coordinator, facilitators, and support team within the Sustainable Tourism Department. Moreover, we thank you for the broad spectrum of participants from the Caribbean, our family of islands, and those here on the island of New Providence. We pray that the information disseminated in this forum will serve to broaden the knowledge of our people, enhance the vacation experience of every visitor, and improve opportunities for greater environmental, sociocultural, and economic prosperity. Again, Lord, we welcome and honor your presence amongst us and commend the proceedings of this workshop unto you. In the name of your beloved Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen. It is with pleasure that I introduce our next speaker. He has a distinguished record for personal and professional achievement, having obtained degrees from the College of the Bahamas, the University of Windsor, and the Eastern Michigan University. He is a proud member of the Holy Cross Anglican Church, a husband, and the father of 3 children. Our speaker believes in community service and joined the Rotary Club of Southeast Nassau in 2004 and became its president in 2011. His elevation to high office within the public service began in the Ministry of Education in 2003, where he served as administrator of the Scholarship Division for 15 years. He then served as undersecretary at both the Ministry of Environment and Housing and the Ministry of Health. Prior to coming to the Ministry of Tourism in January 2021, he served as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Labor. Ladies and gentlemen, please now let us welcome the permanent secretary for the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation, Mr. Reginald Sanders, to bring remarks.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Eric, you can hear me, correct?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Great, great. Well, good afternoon to you all. On behalf of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation, I extend warm greetings and a hearty welcome to you, our international and local presenters, government and agency officials, tourism industry stakeholders, and Ministry of Tourism and Aviation colleagues attending this workshop today on Caribbean Community-Based Tourism Toolkit. As you know, this is being sponsored by my ministry in partnership with the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility and the Caribbean Tourism Organization. The Ministry of Tourism and Aviation, and indeed the Bahamas government, understands the importance of community-based tourism development in our island, to our island residents and entrepreneurs, as they seek to strategically develop their tourism economies and provide employment for micro and small businesses. Extremely important to the success of community-based tourism is the need for an intuitive and practical understanding of the marketplace, the evolving preferences of the traveling public, who are increasingly in search of a unique, engaging, and immersive cultural and ecotourism experience among our communities, and their expectations of a health and safety standard maintained by such communities. Also important during these times is product service quality and efficient and contactless delivery of these experiences. The Caribbean Community-Based Toolkit was developed by the Caribbean Tourism Organization in collaboration with the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, a grouping of countries and organizations working to help small and emerging community-based tourism enterprises develop their business acumen, marketing skills, and diversification strategies. As changing market trends have demonstrated and COVID-19 has illuminated, it is really only through community-based tourism development that we can have the greatest impact and success in empowering and employing our people, developing resilient land and marine ecosystems, and protecting our planet and biodiversity from continued natural habitation for future generations. And so, I would like to recognize our partner presenters today, Mr. Wayne Elliott, Ms. Courtney Lindsay of the Caribbean Partnership Facility, and Ms. Amanda Charles with the Caribbean Tourism Organization for making this event possible and freely providing this toolkit to aid local entrepreneurs in developing their business through these kinds of workshops throughout the region. The kit includes 5 tools that business support organizations and entrepreneurs can use to expand their economic potential of community-based tourism and facilitate more diversified economic growth in their respective countries. The tools have integrated sustainability principles that reflect the preferences of today's traveler, helping not only to empower local communities, but to emphasize the proper use of the natural environment and strategies for conservation of natural resources and the preservation of biodiversity. The information being shared today is also available online through the Caribbean Tourism Organization and the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility portals. And you can also reach out to the Ministry of Tourism and Aviation in the Bahamas for guidance in implementing these tools. In closing, I wish you a successful and interactive session today and pray for positive learning outcomes to help enhance the community-based tourism product offerings. Thank you very much. And again, enjoy your workshop.
Thank you, Tia Sanders, for that remarks on behalf of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. Next up, we will have Mr. Wayne Elliott. He's the technical coordinator for the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility. He'll be coming with a message from Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility and to tell us more about the work that they do throughout the region. Mr. Elliott?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. So I'm in Barbados, so it's good afternoon here. So good afternoon here, good morning in the Bahamas. So adopting the protocols that have already been established, it is indeed my pleasure to present brief remarks on behalf of the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility and our donors, which are the Inter-American Development Bank, the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO, Global Affairs Canada, and the Caribbean Development Bank. Compete Caribbean supports the region in increasing the productivity and innovation levels of Caribbean firms. All of this is done towards a general aim of increasing the private sector's contributions to economic growth. Our specific objectives are twofold. The first, to support firms to grow, compete, innovate, and enter new markets and sectors. And two, to promote an environment that enables innovation and growth. For this, we have two pillars which support each of these objectives. Under pillar one, which is the pillar I coordinate and under which the tourism toolkit was created, we partnered and we recognized that community-based tourism is a powerful channel for sustainable and inclusive economic development in the Caribbean. CBT enables greater market opportunities for a broad base of local entrepreneurs, which in turn creates employment opportunities. Moreover, our 2019 research, which was conducted by Euromonitor, suggested that there was many value addition propositions that present themselves as an increasing number of tourists seek CBT experiences. Notably, these visitors are willing to pay more for such authentic and customized opportunities. As such, we believe that CBT represents an opportunity for tourism stakeholders to further diversify their tourism product offerings. This, we believe, is worthy of special consideration as we chart the post-COVID era. Yeah? Today, I am delighted to be a part of this national workshop on the community-based tourism toolkit, which is being hosted by the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. The toolkit has benefited from the input of many people across the region, whether it be internally and some international people as well. It has benefited from practitioners and stakeholders in the region. We've utilized insights of tourism specialists. We've been using successful CBT initiatives around the globe and some right here in the region. And we've also been using best practice guides to pull the CBT toolkit together. The toolkit seeks to present tools that CBT operators and business support organizations can use as they seek to develop, promote, and improve their businesses. Essentially, it aims to share and guide practitioners through how to start, operate, and promote a CBT business in the Caribbean, with a focus on how to enhance and develop experiences and products. However, it must be understood that the toolkit is not the be-all and end-all for a successful entry and operation within the CBT space. The toolkit does not provide solutions specifically, but it offers the necessary guidelines to optimize your chances of success by way of making more informed decisions upfront. Now, for Compete, armed with the CTO, the toolkit, our research on CBT matters in the region, the support of our donors, and an arsenal of great partners such as the Ministry of Tourism and Aviation in the Bahamas. We launched a call in January 2020 aimed at providing more direct support to CBT clusters in the region. This call was embraced and we received applications from all 13 of our beneficiary countries. After a very intense selection process, 3 cluster initiatives were selected to receive funding and technical assistance of up to $300,000 US. These funds are expected to be used to further develop and market the CBT experiences and products within the chosen clusters. The Bahamas is home to one of the successful initiatives, and we wish to congratulate you on this achievement. At present, we're making the preparations to be able to assist the Andros Community Tourism Cluster with the implementation of their winning community development and improvement plan. This cluster plan aims to create significant employment opportunities for Bahamians, especially women and youth. Moreover, we expect that this project will have positive environmental impacts, as environmental protection strategies will also feature in a meaningful way in this project. I wish to reiterate our gratitude to the government and the people of the Bahamas for partnering with us to deliver on our mandate. At present, we have yet another call that is open and is receiving applications. This time, we're seeking innovative firm projects that are operating at the crossroads of agriculture and technology. Our Agri-Tech Challenge is currently set to close on June 4th. And you can get more information on this call on our website at www.competecaribbean.org. Thank you for your time and your patience, and we wish you the greatest successes in your CBT endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Taking from both Mr. Elliott and P.S. Sanders' remarks, CBT is definitely the future of tourism. I always say, what makes each destination different, especially in our region, are our people. And the community-based tourism focuses on people, place, and planet. Next, we'll be going into our panel discussion. There are a few ground rules I would like to set before we start. We'll have a question and answer segment at the end of the panel discussion. So each panelist will go, and at the end of the 3 panelists, we'll have a question and answer discussion. You can use the chat bar, which is located. If you click at the bottom of your screen, you will see chat. You can ask your questions there. Our 3 panelists, we first will have Ms. Amanda. Amanda Charles is from the Caribbean Tourism Organization. She's the Sustainable Tourism Specialist with the organization, and she played an integral part of developing the Caribbean Community-Based Tourism Toolkit. Next, we will have Mr. Courtney Lindsay, who is the Project Development Consultant for Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility. He also played a vital role in development of this toolkit and organization of the cluster call for community-based tourism projects. The third panelist will be myself. My name is Taran Sims. I'm a coordinator in the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation Sustainability Department. I'll now give the floor to Amanda. Amanda, you can turn on your camera, open your mic, and we look forward to your presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Sims, and I extend cordial greetings from the Secretariat of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. I would like to note the presence of Mr. Reginald Saunders, Permanent Secretary in the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. Of course, Wayne Elliott, Coordinator at the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, and my fellow panelists from Compete, Mr. Courtney Lindsay. And with that, I will delve straight into my presentation. So good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm really pleased to partner with the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism to share some insights as we consider supporting community-based tourism, particularly in the context or in the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic. So my presentation today, I will take the opportunity to provide a brief introduction of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO, of which the Bahamas is a member country. I will provide some background as it relates to definitions and guiding principles related to CBT, and discuss in a very broad, provide a broad overview of the CTO and Compete Caribbean Community-Based Tourism Toolkit, also looking at our own CBT program and some insights and recommendations as it relates to the future. So CTO was established in 1989 as an intergovernmental development agency to support the development of tourism in the Caribbean. So we are based in Barbados, and our overall vision is to position the Caribbean as the most desirable year-round warm weather destination in the world. So there are 24 government members and a number of private sector allied and affiliate members. And these span businesses operating in various tourism subsectors, as well as ancillary industries, including academic institutions, funding agencies, the media, etc. As it relates to our mandate in our approach to work, there are roughly, I would say, 5 pillars for success. And that is one, driving sustainable tourism development, supporting human resource or human capital development. We engage in regional destination marketing, communications and advocacy, very important, and market intelligence, research and statistics being our 5th area of work. So I like to share this map. Pretty much it shows the diversity of the Caribbean, even in terms of language diversity. And currently the CTO membership spans English, French, Dutch, and Spanish speaking countries across the region. Obviously, not every country is a member of CTO. Some prefer to do their own tourism promotion, marketing, etc. But the vast majority of countries are members of CTO. So on the next 2 slides, I have pretty much outlined those 24 members. And of course, you can see the Bahamas at the top. So with that, I will delve into the CBT definition for the Caribbean as we conceptualize. And when we talk about community-based tourism, that speaks to a collaborative approach to tourism development in which community members exercise control through active participation in the appraisal, development, management, and or ownership of enterprises that deliver socioeconomic benefits to community members, conserves natural and cultural and or heritage resources, and adds value to the experience of, or the experiences of local and foreign visitors. And it is important to note that CBT, or community-based tourism, involves both activities in a community and goods and services supplied to the industry by one or more community members. What is the concept of a community? And it's very important because in the national sense, we tend to think of community as a village or, you know, specific to a location. And while location is important for us in terms of community in the context of providing community tourism experiences, we define community as a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics in common, such as a shared belief, interests, and or goals. And it is important to note that it is not always geographical placement that defines the community, but lifestyle choice. It could be, you know, religious belief or an ethnic or social group. And what is the CBT criteria? So as part of the work that we did with Compete Caribbean, we came up with a criteria, really minimum guidelines to direct countries as they consider what can be identified as a community-based tourism product or experience. So given the relationship of the communities in the tourism context, the first 3 criteria are what we consider mandatory. If we want to categorize an enterprise or an experience as a community-based tourism activity. So A, that it operates in one of the 8 subsectors of the tourism industry, ranging from attractions, accommodation, food and beverage, etc. B, it is either owned and or operated by a community member, and C, generates benefits either directly to community members, such as employment. So this, for example, if foreign ownership, which is possible, does it generate some benefit to community members, either employment or purchasing goods and services from community members, or voluntary contributions. So these are the three sort of minimum guidelines to identify a product experience as a community-based tourism activity. And some optional requirements, and we would say essentially one of these, in addition to the top three, would assist in better identifying or categorizing a community-based tourism product or experience. And D being it involves direct participation or interaction between locals and visitors, shares and helps to preserve the local culture and heritage, and of course provides positive economic, social, environmental, and other benefits. Before I delve into the work with Compete, some thoughts again in terms of providing some definitions. It is important to identify some of the main niche markets which fall under the community-based tourism umbrella. Certainly rural tourism, indigenous tourism, culture and heritage tourism, and agro-tourism. And I trust everyone is familiar with these niche markets, perhaps because of your involvement in tourism. But essentially, the primary focus has to be on sustaining and or providing local livelihoods, protecting valued social, cultural assets, as well as the natural and cultural heritage resources of the community or communities generally. And other niche markets that can also be considered CBT in its iteration, local tourism. Sometimes that word is used in lieu of CBT. Food tourism, culinary experiences, diaspora tourism, the MICE market, particular festivals and events, experiential tourism, which is a huge opportunity. I want to just highlight this whole aspect of edutainment, and that could be anything from having visitors engage in coral reforestation, or museum tours or community visits where persons would learn more about the culture, heritage, and traditions. And of course, given COVID-19, health and wellness tourism, remains a huge opportunity and actually a key criteria for a successful tourism experience. So delving now into our partnership with the Compete Caribbean facility that started way back in 2018, I think at the early start of 2018, when CTO applied and was awarded a technical cooperation agreement to foster our own capacity and enhancement to support the development and growth of community-based tourism in the Caribbean. So stemming from that, we engaged first in a capacity enhancement plan that included training in cluster facilitation and development, CBT site visits to Belize, Guyana, and Jamaica, really 3 destinations identified as leading in the area of community-based tourism. And in those destinations, we met with CBT operators to capture best practices, to obtain their input as it relates to our strategy for CBT development, the criteria that I shared, and our definition broadly on what we can categorize as community-based tourism. Some of the main outputs of that collaboration with Compete include the CBT Toolkit, which I will touch on shortly. We also held a CBT Masterclass in 2019 on the margins of our Sustainable Tourism Conference in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Mr. Sims here was a participant, as well as a number of other regional participants. In all, I think there were 13 countries that were sponsored by Compete Caribbean to participate in the masterclass. And of course, Wayne would have touched on the call for cluster proposals, but what is important is CTO will support direct implementation of the successful community-based tourism clusters. And our last area of cooperation, again, we were so proactive in conceptualizing a pilot project to develop an online platform that would accommodate both bookings and online payments for SMEs. So the CBT Toolkit is essentially 5 key resources that community entrepreneurs, community enterprises, and business support organizations, tourism agencies, etc., can use to support any community to either develop their CBT experience or to enhance that experience or initiative. So broadly, to support community tourism development, the first 2 tools include a tourism assets inventory and a CBT diagnostic tool. To support enterprise development, a CBT handbook. Taryn, I believe, will delve more as it relates to the first 3. The area of product development, Courtney from Compete Caribbean will talk a little bit about the findings by the study conducted by Euromonitor International. And I will touch a little on market development because that really relates to the work of CTO. And in this regard, I want to highlight the community destination profile, which is a 2-page template for communities to capture information on the types of experiences found to attract visitors. And the profile essentially can feed into your own online, marketing and or social media webpage. And to date, we have conducted just over 10 CBT profiles, but this is something we would encourage the Bahamas to continue to do with the many destinations and many community tourism experiences in the Bahamas. And that database CTO captures, and we host on a Caribbean CBT map. All of this we will put on the CTO website to again support visibility of these experiences. And we're also in discussions with Planetera, one of our global partners that have launched a global community tourism network. And at the regional level, CTO we have conceptualized the establishment of a Caribbean community tourism network, and we will be following up shortly to formally establish that. And again, it's for ongoing support. So this is just a snapshot of the community tourism profile. So you can see, what types of information is captured. And as I mentioned, we have just over 10 completed, well, exactly 12. And you can see the countries. Andros, Bahamas is, of course, one of the destinations. So this again is a snapshot of the database. So you can have an idea of, this would be public facing, searchable by persons looking for information on CBT experiences. And in a snapshot, it tells you whether accommodation is offered and the type of accommodation, whether raw, rustic, well, whether rustic or basic or modern, whether there is electricity, internet, and I mean, we know there's opportunity as it relates to digital nomads, etc. And this is a snapshot of the map, the CBT map for the Caribbean that again is still in development as we continue to capture CBT experiences in the region. So in the final segment of my presentation, I will touch on some key insights post-COVID-19. You know, what is the market? What are some market trends? We know persons are interested in longer stays. We know that domestic tourism has been, I think, the saving grace for tourism businesses. Persons have been engaging in staycations, road trips, etc. There's an increased interest in being closer to nature, being in the open air, of course, because you know, social distancing measures, etc. And family cluster activities, because that would be your own sort of COVID safe bubble. So these are the types of activities that we need to think about in terms of how we can diversify product offerings related to CBT and all the niche market opportunities that it offers. And the importance of digitization, you know, virtual ways to travel or to experience a destination needs to be considered. And some recommendations: certainly know your audience, tell your story. For the Bahamas, as you all know, the United States remains the your number one source market destination. Proximity, of course, is a huge factor, but I think that map also tells us there's an opportunity to, you know, have to increase visibility and reach in other markets as we think longer term, because we have to be mindful of, you know, restrictions in the wake of COVID-19, but it's an opportunity as well for us to explore new markets. So for all destinations, whether at the community level and or the national level, we are encouraging our stakeholders to get online, enhance your online presence. We are also seeking to consider, you know, the sharing economy before that, you know, provided tremendous benefits for the average, you know, community person, like anyone with a home or a room to rent was able to participate more broadly in tourism. So what are the protocols to foster local entrepreneurship in the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic? They've sort of been left out because we focused heavily on, you know, the established tourism sector and established businesses. But, you know, because of the spin-off social and economic benefits, we have to try to integrate or enhance communities' capacities to re-engage in tourism. So what is the role then for the public sector or business support organizations broadly? The well-being of the host community is paramount. It is also important to adopt a bottom-up approach, and that is simply consult with the community, consult with the stakeholders, enhance intersectoral linkages, encourage buying local, supporting local, and that can be done through various campaigns. For tourism businesses, we are saying, let's have more partnerships with communities as we think of travel bubbles. Again, that would entail some engagement and consultation with the communities, provide opportunities for meaningful interactions between guests and communities, mindful of health and safety requirements, We are encouraging, businesses to see the community as partners, not as competitors. And as we think broadly of a longer term strategy, certainly can we consider intra-regional and local travel incentives? And how do we then train and upskill our staff to increase their use and familiarity with ICTs? So 4 niche markets that, we at CTO are suggesting our member countries can focus on. Certainly culture and heritage. Cultural performances, for example, can be done in open fields, and there is enough distance between the performers and visitors. Museums and sites, exhibits, but again, how can these be augmented or enhanced with virtual reality or augmented reality for site interpretation? So contactless experiences, essentially. Health and wellness, but including traditional medicine, alternative therapies. Safe tourism, scientific, academic, and volunteer tourism remains an opportunity. And adventure, what we have, our nature, hikes, walking activities, getting persons out there. So that concludes my presentation. I do have a video, but given time constraints, that can probably be played at the end. And I really hope you found this presentation useful. To reiterate what I think Taryn mentioned, when we think of CBT in the context of community tourism, it's looking at that social pillar, and it's really integrating the people, safeguarding, planetary or community or natural and cultural resources, and ensuring that tourism is profitable and viable. And this is best done through community partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Most definitely, I'll repeat myself, people, place, and planet. Next on up, we'll have Mr. Courtney Lindsay. Courtney, open your mic and your video. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Taran. Thanks, Amanda, Wayne, PS Reginald Sanders. Thank you also. And for the 98 of you that are here, we just want to thank you very much for your interest and participation in this workshop. Now, my role is twofold: simply to take you through our website to show you where you can find all these documents. So if you've missed anything from the presentation, it's all on our website, including what was said before. I think everything that Amanda said can be found on the CTO's website, and a lot of the things that are going to come after will be found on our website and the CTO's website as well. So all the information is out there. And of course, please remember to ask all your questions in the chat. I have been monitoring it. I haven't seen any questions yet. So we're looking forward to your questions. Now, to the first thing I will do, let me first share my screen. Okay. Okay. Is everybody see my screen? If you see my, you can see it.
Your screen.
Okay,
Perfect.
so first thing, go to competecaribbean.org. I'm in the way, I'm trying to move this thing out of the way. Okay, so once you get here, the first thing I want you to do is to scroll all the way down and sign up to our newsletter. That's the first thing I wanted to do, and it's quick and easy. You just put your name, first name, last name, and your email address, hit submit. Once you do that, everything that we put out, you'll be able to see it, stay informed about our work in the region, and importantly, to know what calls we have going on for technical assistance projects throughout the region. So sign up to our newsletter. So the second thing I want you to do is come over here, and in the search bar, I want you to type community-based tourism toolkit. So my computer is moving a bit slow. So once you do this, I want you to scroll down here, this lady here enjoying herself in this beautiful location. I want you to click on community-based tourism toolkit. Now, once you click here, it will give you all the information we have available on community-based tourism and the entire toolkit that we're going to be talking about, and that both Wayne and Amanda would have touched on. So here, you can also go to our, no, stop playing. Go to our YouTube channel and you find some of the webinars that we've done so far, some workshops we've done so far. We have information on that as already. And this presentation that we're going to be making today, this has already actually been done for the CHTA, as well as a webinar done in Jamaica. So you can watch those, as well as you can click here to download the presentation. And a lot of the things that are going to be covered today, as I said, is in this presentation. So you can see that as well. Going on, we have the tourism asset inventory, which Taran is going to touch on. When you click on these, you go down, you click on the green button. It won't allow you to read it online, but it will give you the option to download it on your computer. So so once you do that, you have access to it. The tourism asset inventory, as I said, Taran will touch on that. The CBT diagnostic, again, he will be discussing that. Most importantly, the CBT Enterprise Handbook. And this is a big handbook that will give you all the information you need in terms of developing your tourism enterprise. And if you're a tourism organization, a business support organization, you can use this book as well to learn how to help tourism enterprises to develop. So it's very user-friendly, and it's pretty much a manual that will give you all the information you need, at least most of the information you need, because tourism as we know it have changed. So we're currently in discussions about exploring options of just adding one more tool to this to accommodate tourism of the future that is going to have a big health and safety component to it. So again, for the Enterprise Handbook, you can read it online, you can download it on your computer. It's very big, so it's not emailable. So anybody you want to share it with, you can share the link and they'll be able to download it. Also, importantly, you have financial statements, templates that MSMEs can use to learn how to manage the finances of their businesses. So that's important as well. Product development, that again is going to be touched on. Actually, Amanda touched on it previously. Taran will go into detail again regarding the CBT profiles, which are basically, just profiles of communities that we've done, 10 communities across the region that pretty much, sells the community, gives information such as how to get to the community, where is it located, do you have to take a boat, do you have to take a train, do you have to, fly into the community, what attractions the community offers, a brief history of the community and stuff like that. Just basically a nice profile that can be used to market the community. And when we did these 10 profiles, the aim was, for the CTO to put this on their website so that interested visitors who want to come to the Caribbean can, go through this, look at these communities and see which ones they are interested in based on the on what the community offers. So to give you an example, this particular community, Rewa in the interior of Guyana, has a very big sports fishing attraction, which Compete Caribbean helped to develop in phase 1 of Compete, where, you know, these communities, the community members, the indigenous community members usually kill the animals and sell them across the border in Brazil. But a Compete Caribbean program showed them how they could actually use tourism to preserve the animals by making the animals themselves an attraction. So fly fishermen would go and catch the biggest freshwater fish in the world, which is the Arapaima fish native to the Amazon rainforest. So this is how we've been working in tourism in the past, which Wayne would have spoken about, and we continue this work into the very near future. So look at these profiles, and here is there's a template that we can send to you to show you how you can develop your own profile for your own community that you can market on a website that you have as a community or a national website. So that's it. I'll be putting the link and as well as the information you need to search for into the chat, so you can find the website very easily. But you know, we're constantly developing the website to make it more user-friendly. So that's it for the website. And the next aspect of my presentation will go into one aspect of the toolkit, which is the consumer report. But before I do that, Wayne would have touched on the fact that the Anjos community in the Bahamas competed against 55 other communities to benefit from technical assistance to develop a cluster development plan, to develop a community tourism cluster in the Bahamas. And then they competed again on the basis of the cluster development plan that they worked as a community and a cluster to develop. And now we'll be soon implementing this cluster development plan to basically help the Anjos community, you know, develop their tourism product and to market it. So what is a cluster, and why does Compete Caribbean seek to develop clusters? A cluster is basically an interconnection of firms that operate near each other. The important thing is that they compete, but they also collaborate with each other. So it's not a crab in a barrel mentality, because, you know, to really be competitive in the world of tourism, it is good for firms, you know, not just to compete viciously against each other, but also to collaborate to get things done, because no one individual entity can really, you know, get benefits for an entire community that will benefit them as well. So clustering works very well in terms of being a joint marketing tool to increase market share. So communities can come together, all the tourism enterprises operating in a community can come together to market their community. They can also come together to advocate to the government and also development partners, similar to how the community of Anjos came together, being led by Taran at the ministry, to send us a concept note to say, here is a project that we are proposing that will develop this community. So this was a cluster effort. So, you know, without that cluster effort, we probably wouldn't have gotten the concept note that have turned into a cluster development plan, and now we are implementing. So working in a cluster really benefits tourism enterprises working together, being near each other and being interconnected in a particular community. So that's why we use the clustering approach. So moving on to talk about,
Courtney, sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
Can you full size your PowerPoint presentation, please?
Pardon?
Can you open up your PowerPoint presentation full size?
Okay, yes, of course. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's full size now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, so so the consumer research, just to give you three, you know, facts that we found out when we did this consumer research of American visitors. We conducted a study in the US market. Euromonitor International did this consumer research for us. Almost 2,000 people they surveyed to get information from them, basically the willingness to pay for Caribbean tourism goods and services. What would they want to experience when they come to the region, and what are they willing to pay for? And importantly, how much they are willing to pay for it. What the study found was that only 21% of the respondents knew what community-based tourism was. And once they learned through the survey what community-based tourism was, 79% said they were willing to try it. Now, this is huge, because what it means is that if you look at the amount of tourists that currently come to the region yearly, particularly looking at the day tourists that come on the cruises, 20 million visitors are interested in community-based tourism. So we are losing out on 20 million additional visitors that are willing to come into communities to spend money yearly. So this was a big surprise for us that the study revealed to us. So this is something we should take advantage of, because going into the post-COVID world, as tourism picks back up, it's good to know what each tourist is willing to spend, so that we can price our goods and services accordingly to increase our tourism revenues. So, as I said, the consumer research, we wanted to know what the visitors were interested in spending their money on, how much they were willing to spend, and so that our tourism MSMEs, the small restaurant, the Airbnb, the farm to table operation, the tour guide, the fly fisherman instructor can take advantage of this by refining and expanding and pricing their products based on what visitors are willing to spend. So 15 activities were prioritized for this study, and Amanda touched on them. And of course, I won't go through them in detail here, because like I said, all this information is available on the website. This very study is available on the website. It's pretty big, but it gives a lot of information, so you can find it there as well. But we looked at 15 niche tourism activities and looked at the potential for development in the region. So you would see here the different elements we have, the number of businesses currently operating in the region, how involved the community is, the employment potential for each niche tourism activity, the interest, importantly, the interest of American visitors, and our capacity to provide those goods and services that they are interested in. And then we gave each of these a score. What we found was that visitors are interested in food. They want to sample Caribbean cuisine. And it's quite disappointing that as a region dependent on tourism, we haven't gotten correctly the linkage between agriculture and tourism, and this is something we need to fix. Like the study pointed out, this is something we need to prioritize, because these activities in the study showed the highest benefit for the region, because the tourists were most important in local tourism, meaning going into the communities, not sitting on a beach, and playing in the sun all day, but actually going into communities, going on food and beverage tours, look at how the farmers plant their foods, doing farm to table activities and trying out traditional cuisines. So this is an area that we need to prioritize, and we need to make that connection with agriculture, because we shouldn't be importing food into the region and offering tourists the very thing they are eating in their own country. We need to get our act together, basically, as far as this is concerned. Some of these activities we need to promote, because the tourists don't show much interest in these activities, but if we were supposed to get into these activities, the benefits would be high. So these include homestays, school exchange and cultural immersions, and volunteer experiences. These can help to, help with our economic growth as far as, tourism and its contribution to each of our islands' GDPs. The next thing we need to develop locally, because tourists show a high interest in these activities, but we haven't properly developed them across the region. And these are heritage sites, wildlife tourism and natural habitats, and festivals. We need to target this, to better develop these, because at the moment, tourists are showing a high interest in these, but they aren't fully developed. So, for example, the project that we're going to be rolling out in Andros, birding, fishing, this is where we're helping the region to develop, aspects of their tourism that are of interest to visitors. So the final thing is that we need to redefine some of our activities, because the interests of tourists are low, so we need to strengthen and market these. So again, this was a very important finding from this study. Look at it, read it, and come away with more information. Oh, I forgot that arrow. The next thing, well, I spoke about this, but to go into a bit more detail, let's give an example. So what we found out in the consumer research was that the visitors are willing to pay up to $100,000 US $100 are willing to pay US 100 for a product that we're currently selling for $10. So basically we're losing $90 per unit per sale on these particular items. So we need to look at this and again, look at this study for yourself, community tourism organizations, business support organizations, look at this study, interpret this for tourism enterprises so that they can increase the price of their products and increase their revenues. Half the respondents are willing to pay more for food that is sourced locally and 40% for organic food. So that's what we also see in the research, that visitors are willing to pay a premium for food if it is sourced locally and is not grown with chemicals. Farm to table, again, we are undercutting ourselves because visitors are willing to pay $100 for farm to table experiences in tourism. We're not even charging 50% of that cost. Food and beverage, similarly, the actual tour, food and beverage tour, they are willing to pay up to $300 for the package and even more, but we aren't currently charging that amount for it. Again, same thing here, farm to tour, they're willing to pay up to $31 to $300. Currently, we only charge $20 to $150. So we are really missing out on revenues here. The study also pointed toward things that we wanted to find out. What would be the deal breaker for visitors, why they wouldn't, visit the region, or if they do, why they wouldn't come a second time. And what it shows is, perception of safety and hygiene is very important to visitors before COVID-19. So just imagine how important it's going to be after. As we move into the post-COVID era. So, tourism enterprises really need to get on top of this, showcase how they're being safe and hygienic in their operations, put this on, on Instagram, put this on Facebook as you market your products to tourists, to let them know that you are practicing safety and hygiene so that they feel comfortable coming. Of course, let this information be known on various platforms, Google and Expedia, as TripAdvisor, as you showcase your business. Like Amanda said, advertising and social media advertising is critical going forward. And these are the things you need to show. Like I said, they are interested in food that is grown without chemicals, food grown organically, food sourced locally, and providing benefits to the local community. Again, this is important. What we found that the visitors are saying is that they will pay more for goods and services that they know benefit the entire community. So tourists, especially millennials and younger generations, are moving away from giving their money to big hotel chains, that the profits are repatriated abroad to foreign investors. They are very interested in supporting small community operations where, a single mother is able to send her children to school, and a farming family can use that money, to take care of their needs. So they are really all about community-based tourism, providing benefits to the community. So we're talking about people who are very charitable, looking for sustainable as well as tourism that benefits everyday hardworking people at the community level. And of course, you have to make the experience fun for them. So that's what the experience, the consumer research also showed. And that's it for me. So thanks again. Like I said, everything is available on the website, and in the chat, I will put the direct link. So you can save this and you can go directly there to get all the information. So thank you, and Taran, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for that research that was conducted by your monitoring and breaking it down. Just to attest to what you said about the millennial traveler, I may not look that young, but I'm a millennial traveler. I had the opportunity to do the same thing that you described, Courtney, in South America. And I looked for community-based tourism products, and that was the best experience I've ever had traveling, because you learn a lot from the local community as you travel. You take in cultural values and an appreciation of travel when you do connect and integrate yourself into the local community. So most definitely. Courtney, so you can stop sharing your screen so I can bring my presentation up. Thank you. Okay, so I will dive more into 3 elements of the toolkit. So as both Courtney and Amanda and both of our opening remarks speakers indicated, both P.S. Sanders and Mr. Wayne Elliott, community-based tourism is the tourism of the future. And it invokes culture, whether it be sitting around listening to old Bohemian folk tales, visiting the Hermitage at Mount Alvernia, listening to Rake and Strake down in Cat Island around a bonfire, or casting a fly to catch a bonefish on the flats of Andres. Community-based tourism, it integrates tourists and is also, as Courtney said, has a high willingness of pay from visitors from our main source market, which is the US. So there's the 3 elements of the toolkit that I'll be talking about will be the tourism asset inventory, the community-based tourism diagnostic tool, and community-based tourism enterprise handbook. So the asset inventory, it consists of 6 different types of assets, 19 subtypes, and 171 ideas on how destinations can either enhance or implement activities to facilitate the development of effective community-based tourism. So these templates were used, as you would have heard, both Mr. Wayne Elliott and Courtney indicated that the island of Andros was selected as um, a project for community-based tourism. So the asset inventory was used to help us develop this project after the concept note would have been developed. So it looks at accommodations. What type of accommodations are located on the island? Do we have bed and breakfasts? Do we have eco lodges, campgrounds, etc.? What can visitors find when they come here? It also looks at attractions. What kind of attractions can visitors engage in once they reach to the island? Are there possible attractions there that we are not noticing according to the market research? How do we enhance them? How do we provide access to these attractions? Services. What kind of services are provided? Do we have local restaurants? Do we have international restaurants? What kind of shopping is provided? Can somebody come into the community and buy a product that they would need access to if it's not here? How do we get access to these products? Transport. What kind of transport is available? Taxi, rental car companies, etc. Experiences. Do we have land-based experiences, water-based experiences, cultural and heritage experiences? And also, a really important one is experts. What kind of experts do we have in our community? Do we have tour guides to provide heritage tours? Do we have naturalists to provide tours of the natural environment? Do we have heritage interpreters? Do we have performing arts and visual arts in elements within our community? And also infrastructure. Is there security? As Courtney indicated from the research, one of the research questions was, what would prohibit somebody from revisiting or visiting a destination? Security is a big thing. Are there clinics, there are healthcare facilities, especially in this day and age? And also, are there visitor centers in the area where visitors can find out about the touristic product and what they can do? So I'll give you just a brief example of how one of the asset inventory looked that we use. So I will go into this. So in the asset inventory, we have 6 different tabs. You have accommodations, you list your accommodations, the type of accommodations. There's a drop down that indicate what type of accommodations. Who do you contact for booking? The different contact informations, emails, phone number, websites, etc. Then we have attractions. The name of the attraction. What type of attraction is it? Is it a festival? Is it a cultural? Is it a natural attraction or just a general attraction? Then we also have subtypes. Is it a cave? Is it a cenote? Is it a desert? Well, we don't have any of those here in the Bahamas. Is it a farm, a lake, land-based park, marine park, etc.? And
Excuse me, Duran, can you maximize your presentation?
um, I'll zoom in. Is it better now?
It's not in presentation mode.
Oh, this is a Excel spreadsheet.
Aaron, X out the format background so we can see it bigger.
You can still, this is Amanda, go to slideshow and you would still be able to present.
Okay, what I will do, I'll just use this example right here instead of going into the actual Excel spreadsheet. Can you see this better?
Yes, for sure. Very good.
Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, I was on the attractions type. So you have the 19 subtypes that you can list for the attractions. Then after that, we go into, after attractions, we go into services. What type of services are available? Food and beverage? Are there cafes? Are there ethnic restaurants? What kind of shopping is available in markets? Are there artisanal craft markets? Are there clothing markets, farmers markets, fish markets, produce markets, and souvenir shops located within the area? Then we have transportation. What type of transportation is available? Is there air services available on the island or to access the island? Are there bus services on the island? Are there car rental companies, ferry services, taxis, etc.? The fourth tab would be experiences. What type of experiences can visitors experience once they come to the island? Are there art? Is there art? Is there dancing, educational, gastronomy, indigenous, health and wellness? When we look at water-based, there are boating rental company? Are there boating excursions, dive operations, snorkeling operations, canoeing, diving, snorkeling, fly fishing, kayaking? When we look at land-based adventure, do we have ATVs on the island? Are there quads, cycling, caving, hiking, horseback riding? For the fifth tab, we have local experts. What kind of local experts are on the island? So for tourism, are there boat captains who are qualified? Are there cooks or chefs that can provide private services? Are there drivers, tour guides, housekeeping, spa treatment, etc.? For natural and cultural heritage, for heritage, are there farmers? As you can hear, we heard the chicken just now. Is there a farm located on the island? Are there historians? Are there geologists? Are there bird watchers? Is there a fishing community located on the island? Natural alternative healers? And this is very important, especially in this day and age. People are looking for what we consider nutraceuticals. What kind of medicinal plants are located on the island? Storytelling is also a big thing. With authentic travel, people want to know the story behind communities and their heritage. So they want to hear about why we do certain things within our culture. So heritage interpretation, in the arts. Are there artists on the island? Are there dance groups? Are there music groups? What kind of music is what type of music can we find on the island? Is there a theater group? When we look at the visual arts, what kind of artisans? Are there wood carvers? Are there visual artists? Are there filmmakers? Are there designers? Are there potters, photographers, printmakers? And also textile. What type of textile is made on the island? And can we partake in activities where this is done? And the last tab, which is number 6, infrastructure. As I said before, security. Is there community crime watch? Is there police services, security services? For health, are there doctors? Is there a clinic? Is there a hospital? How can I get quick access to medical assistance? And for visitors, they want to know, can I access money? Is there a bank with a working ATM on the island? Is there a currency exchange if I need to change my currency? Internet access, um, phone line, public bathrooms, etc. So the asset inventory goes really into thorough on what is located on the island for community-based tourism to be successful and to be run efficiently and effectively for the visitors coming. Afterwards, we have the community diagnostic tool. So the community diagnostic tool is a tool used to provide a framework of reference to assess community readiness for community-based tourism on key success factors. So the purpose of the diagnostic tool is to one, measure the community capacity and readiness for the implementation of community-based tourism development by assessing the development related to strengths and weaknesses to help support planning and implementation of community-based development. Also, to help identify gaps and priorities to include in project plan and funding proposal for community-based tourism development. So there are 7 dimensions. During the project in Andres, we looked at governance and leadership, community participation, access to resources, infrastructure and services, human resources, tourism assessment, and number 7, product development and marketing. In order to do a comprehensive community diagnostic tool, it has to include the community. So what we did in the project, we held community stakeholder meetings and we questioned the community on their understanding of community-based tourism development. And we got an understanding of the 7 dimensions of the community diagnostic tool. To use the tool, say if you were to decide to use this tool in any one of your communities, there are 10 steps. So step 1 is to organize a meeting with businesses, stakeholders within the tourism sector. 2, go through the list of questions one by one to estimate the score of each criteria. So here are the list of questions. As you can see on this page here, um, capture comments from the audience on particular questions in each segment. Number 4, based on scores, identify the main gaps of the areas needing improvement. So from this, you get a clear understanding of the gaps that prohibits a community from being ready for community-based tourism, and you will get ideas of how you can close these gaps. Number 5, prioritize the gaps and areas of improvements. 6, for each priority area for improvement, discuss the actions needed with the community. Number 7, for each action, identify key actions needed and who can be responsible for addressing each action. So whether it be access to proper telecommunication, electricity, how do we work with the different elements that create a tourism sector and make it market ready to help decrease the gaps. Number 8, identify immediate next steps needed to support community-based tourism development. Number 9, establish processes for moving forward on actions and reporting progress to goals. And number 10, periodically revisit and update the diagnostic tool to monitor and evaluate the progress and aims at the continuous improvement of community-based tourism development within the area that have done the diagnostic tool. And so with the diagnostic tool, um, again, these are the questions, and you fill in different points. As you can see, meet 2 points, partial meets 1 point, does not meet point. And as you fill these in, it will give you a total at the end, and the Excel spreadsheet has already been tabulated by Compete Caribbean and Caribbean Tourism Organization. So you'll get a final score at the end, and I get an understanding of where the community is in terms of community-based tourism development. So now, how do we bring this all together? The asset inventory and the diagnostic tool, along with the research Courtney indicated, and the community destination profile. How do we prepare a community, especially businesses, to become community-based ready and to provide a robust and ambitious community-based tourism product? Can Caribbean and Caribbean Tourism Organization develop the enterprise development, the community-based tourism enterprise handbook, which is a user-friendly guidebook to help entrepreneurs develop profitable CBT enterprises that return benefits to the community, both socially, economically, and environmentally. Within the handbook, there are 11 topics: global travel industry, understanding CBT, protecting and involving the community, planning your CBT business, understanding your market, developing your product, pricing your product, meeting visitor expectation, marketing your product, developing financial management skills, and building your business support network. These 11 topics are essential to the development of, as I said before, a robust and an ambitious community-based tourism product. We all know financial management is one is a strong element needed within the development of a business. And this handbook gives a really good breakdown on basic financial management for a business. And especially with the building your support network, what Compete Caribbean and Caribbean Tourism Organization did prior to development of this enterprise handbook, they sent out a call to all Caribbean islands on, uh, they developed a directory of business support services for businesses with throughout the Caribbean. So in each island, you can find in this directory which agencies are business support agencies, and they're listed within this handbook. The handbook is a course that can be taught. As Amanda said before, I attended the workshop in St. Vincent and the Grenadine, and we did a train the trainer course. And it's a you can do 2 weeks, 4 days, a 4 to 2 week, um, a four a 4 day to 2 week course with local communities on this handbook. And it's a very easy, efficient handbook to help bring either existing businesses or actually just expose communities to the potential within the community-based tourism market and how they can be how it can be profitable. So one of the most important, well, 4.1 within the handbook talks about market readiness. And community, the CTO and Compete Caribbean really looked at market readiness of each destination. What is located in the destination to make them market ready for to tap in to those areas that Courtney would have discussed from the Euro monitoring site. And if you're not market ready, how do we get you market ready? And all of this can be done by using the different elements within the community-based tourism toolkit. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here, and we'll go into our question and answer segment now. So as I indicated before, you can use the chat bar to ask questions, and the relevant representative on the panel will answer the questions. Ilanda will be moderating this section.
Hi, good afternoon. So we have a question. Hilanda's getting her mic together. The first question is, when will the next training session take place? Is there a follow-up for this?
Hello, in regards to the training session, so we'll be rolling out a training session soon, and an announcement will be made. Completely focused on the community-based tourism enterprise handbook. We hope to reach every community in the Bahamas, but we'll be launching our first one very soon, and I'll ensure that everybody who's in this webinar gets the email. And when we're in each location that we do it, you will get an email to ensure that you are aware.
There's a very important question. Taran, emphasize the importance of community consultation in CBT buy-in. That's a very good question. I don't know which one of you, either you or Amanda, want to take it.
I can give some feed into it. Definitely working with the project that we did, the community consultation was very important. And when it came to Compete Caribbean, the project had to be community driven. We held, we had over 90 meetings with community members whilst we were doing the project to ensure that the tourism product and the tourism market that we were going after were actually community centric and were driven by the community, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones to move it forward. They're going to be the ones serving the tourists, and they're going to be the ones who have to engage. And there are a number of different frameworks. When we look at tourism iration threshold, we want to ensure that these thresholds are not met, and the community and the tourists are working together harmoniously. So Amanda, you can feed into that question.
Thank you, Taran and Courtney. And actually, I recall a case study of Treasure Beach, Jamaica, Courtney, where the importance of the cluster concept in that businesses that were competitors, for example, hotels in the same area that are vying for visitors, they had to work together, and they found that there was greater benefits in joint marketing, in tour development, in establishing a network of local service providers that could jointly service their businesses. So, buy-in is certainly important. It is not always easy, particularly for more established businesses in the community that may operate in the same subsector and really vying for business, but what this has shown is, there is greater benefits and greater impact when communities, community persons and businesses work together.
And, and if I could add to that, Taran and Amanda, at Compete, we ensure that our projects are bottom up. We don't operate whereby we impose solutions on communities. We always ensure that consultation is done, especially in cluster projects. So we get to the ground level and meet with the individuals to find out what it is that they want to happen. And we develop and design our projects accordingly. And like Amanda said, it's not always easy getting community members to agree, but once we show them the importance of clustering and why it's important to come together to agree on a way forward and to make compromises where everybody can benefit from, we move ahead. So yes, we agree that buy-in is extremely critical.
Hi, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so my name is Jerome Smith, and I'd just like to say I really appreciated the information that was provided here today. But one of my main questions is, so with community-based tourism, it's reminding me quite a bit of the people-to-people program that the Ministry of Tourism in the Bahamas had previously. And so one question would be, so how does this build off of that program? And then my second question is going to be in reference to limitations, right? So whenever you're doing research, we all are aware that there are certain limitations in regards to implementing a new process or concept. So I'd be interested in knowing, based off of your experience in your past, I guess, work life, what are the top 5 maybe limitations that individuals can anticipate when they accept or implement this community-based tourism model?
Okay, Terrell, this is Crystal Bethel. I will try to address the first question. With respect to people, that is a voluntary activity that is sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, whereby visitors can contact us and we pair them with locals in the community who have shared interests. And there is no charge or cost to the visitor to participate in that program. Volunteers get a very small stipend to facilitate the activities that are, they engage in with their hosts. That is completely different to a commercial type activity that is put on by persons in communities where you are marketing to the general public, traveling public, and they are either reaching you through an online tour operator, an online portal, such as CTO, or directly when they come to visit the destination. And really the purpose of community-based tourism is to generate economic benefits for communities. And so there's nothing voluntary about it, while you might as a visitor, as a host, extend courtesies beyond the norm for entrepreneurs. It is a revenue generating exercise. As to the limitations, I'm not in the business to really respond to that. I'm hoping somebody else can do that.
Thanks,
So I
Crystal.
can add, excuse me?
I was just telling her thank you for her response.
Oh, okay. So this is Amanda. I can add perhaps 3 limitations or challenges, I would say. And, my colleagues from Compete can certainly weigh in. But from a product development standpoint, because we emphasize the importance of buy-in and consensus, that is the first challenge. There can be disagreements among community members, as to what is a single product or activity or products and activities that they can offer. And then the sustainability of the effort, loss of interest if there are not enough visitors And as a result, they think that, you know, the investment or the cost outweighs the benefits. From the visitor perspective, and it is so important to be honest and authentic in terms of what is offered to the market. That can hurt not only the community, but the destination as a whole. So the quality of the experience, authenticity, you know, can factor repeat visitors or just the overall experience of the visitor in the particular destination. So that is one key issue. Another area, another topic, I guess, related to the visitor experience is also the perception of value for money. And that is why in terms of the enterprise handbook, we came up with templates because pricing has to be fair. Yes, it has to be fair to the SME or the service provider, because ultimately they are in business, you know, and we want to sustain local livelihoods, but the pricing needs to, you know, have a certain element of value, fair value for the visitor that will engage in whatever experience. And I think it was mentioned previously, safety and security is a concern, you know, quality standards, and, you know, the whole issue of health. And this is what we're asking and considering, you know, how and, well, one, is there an appetite for visitors to fully immerse in communities given the pandemic? So we know we have to restore visitor confidence by having in place clear protocols and guidelines, and communicating those protocols and guidelines, training local persons or service providers so they can, you know, tailor their product or service to suit. So these are, you know, some of my general thoughts. And certainly Courtney, as well as Wayne, who is still on the call, I welcome your input for anything else, particularly from the MSME development perspective.
Hi, there's another question by Shanika Smith, who wanted to know whether there has been any consideration given to creating outdoor markets for local artisans and farmers. Shanika, the Sustainable Tourism Department has another initiative which we're embarking on, which is the development of destination stewardship councils in our islands. Currently, 6 councils are in the process of being launched and will be legalized to formulate their own strategic priorities in their communities. These are public-private sector partnerships. They're happening in Eleuthera, in Exuma, in Andros, and in Harbour Island in phase 1. Each council is comprised of about 15 persons. They are establishing a board, and they will be creating their own business plans with respect to their community needs and priorities. This is a project we're doing in partnership with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, at least to get the councils established. And then, you know, they will be facilitated by the Ministry of Tourism with capacity building and with business planning. We are not in the business of determining what communities need or should have. That is for the community to do. And so we're establishing these councils, and they will be making their decisions in that regard.
Thank you, Mr. Staffel.
There's a
So
question.
we will be taking 2 more questions in the interest of time.
Yes,
And
there's a question from Dr. Vicnair from UB. He's asking, is there any plan to use the Compete Caribbean Toolkit as the base to develop a CBT certification standard for the Caribbean? CBTs that have used these standards and have been rated high by the visitors can be further promoted by the Ministry of Tourism in the respective countries. That can be an incentive to community to develop their CBD product.
That is really an excellent recommendation. And I actually sit on the tourism subcommittee in collaboration with CrossQ and other regional CrossQ, the Caribbean Regional Organization for Standards, which is a part of CARICOM. And we have facilitated the development of a number of standards and guidelines for different aspects of tourism. So certainly, given this interest which has been articulated, and I think we've done a lot of the groundwork, particularly in the development of the criteria. This is something that I will table to that committee. I will let you know the development of standards is not a quick or easy process, and it really entails, consultations among the, member countries and communities, because, we never want any criteria to be sort of imposed. So definitely that recommendation is well received.
And just to add to that, Amanda, we are getting a lot of queries from international bodies and agencies with respect to sustainable activities, community-based activities, but they want to know whether there is a standard, whether they are certified as sustainable. And so this is an area that we have yet to explore, but is definitely needed.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Actually, as a follow-up to the Sustainable Tourism Technical Committee meeting that was held, we will be having a round table, because obviously at that meeting, we did not actually hear from our member destinations. And I would welcome having a broader discussion on that in the context of that meeting. So certainly look for that follow-up. I can provide information on green certifications as well that have been, recognized and or accredited by the GSTC. As you know, CTO is not an accreditation body, so we don't necessarily, own or promote any particular certification, but we do provide guidance to members on those that are, globally recognized.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
There is one question from Andrea. Andrea is joining us from Barbados, and she said that that the Euromonitor study, the consumer report, was done prior to COVID-19, and if we think the willingness to pay, are going to be changing. And whether for those experiences, my belief is that they won't change. I mean, we can't say for sure on a factual basis that visitors will definitely want to pay those prices no post-COVID, but we can't do another study now, Complete Caribbean. We can't fund another study of this nature, because this was very big and a very expensive study. But there's a lot of studies being conducted. And I remember this one I saw from Magna Global that I can send to Taran and he can send it out. It was pretty mind-blowing. They interviewed nearly 2,000 people who said, and this was last year, June, many of them were saying that they were willing to travel to the Caribbean if they were able to, and they were itching to begin traveling again. And they did a comparison of the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia, and the majority of respondents said they were willing to travel to the Caribbean, with less wanting to travel to Asia and less wanting to travel to Africa. So there's a big interest here. It also showed that most of these respondents were saying that they were willing to stay at hotels where where the owners of these hotels actually kept their staff despite, COVID and the slowdown in COVID, the slowdown caused by COVID. And this was mind blowing that these people actually want to help. So this actually, it ties into and it supports and validates our study that the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation of travelers, they really want to help. Not only are they about protecting the environment, they are about social mobility. So they are really out to help. And I don't think it's going to change. If anything, I think it's going to be more so because these people recognize, what COVID has done to our economies and are willing to help us to get back to that level. So I'm not worried, to be honest, but like I say, we would have to use another study if we want to get the actual factual information. But my gut feeling is telling me that nothing is going to change.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Our last question will come from Rochelle Mackey, and she asks, as it relates to Andros Island, will there be grants or small business loans extended to local small business owners and entrepreneurs?
I can answer that. The Bahamas Development Bank is extending a very generous loan facility to all members of the cluster. There are 56 businesses in the cluster and 10 supporting agencies. So they're extending a very, very generous business loan on very flexible terms to all businesses within the cluster. And this is why, as Courtney says, it's really important to establish a cluster because you get more bang for the buck, you get more advocacy, you get more attention paid to, your strategic planning, and you get more money. So I advise everyone to either seek out or join a destination council that's being established, or to develop a cluster so that you can benefit from not only loans, but grant financing that is available through international partners that we have, regional partners, etc.
That wraps up our round of questions and answer segment. We'll be moving on to Highlander, who will give the vote of thanks to close out the session.
Thank you, Taran. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Highlander Sands with the Sustainable Tourism Department of the Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. Colleagues, the information provided by our presenters today will not only benefit our small and medium-sized businesses that are striving to stay afloat in the current environment, but all tourism enterprises across the region, seeking to better understand the marketplace in which they seek to do business and emerging trends that will come to define the way we conduct business in the future. The Ministry of Tourism is indeed grateful for the support and assistance rendered by associates, industry stakeholders, and international partners. And in this regard, we offer a heartfelt thanks to our special guest, Mr. Courtney Lindsay, Project Development Officer with Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, Mr. Wayne Elliott, Coordinator of Innovation and Productivity with the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, and Ms. Amanda Charles, Sustainable Tourism Specialist with the Caribbean Tourism Organization, for giving so generously of their time and talents. I also wish to thank our executive team, the Honorable Dionisio de Aguilar, Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Mr. Reginald Saunders, Permanent Secretary, who provided the opening address this morning, and Mrs. Joy Gibralou, Director General, all of whom gave their full support to this initiative. We also wish to thank government and private sector businesses and industry persons from across our family of islands, and those of you from various ministries, departments, and agencies here in New Providence who opted into this workshop. We hope the information was educational, informative, and relevant to your needs. Last but not least, I wish to ask all of you to join me in giving a virtual round of applause to the members of our Sustainable Tourism Department team for their outstanding performance today. I speak particularly about Mr. Benjamin Pratt, who opened our session with an inspiring prayer, Mr. Taran Sims, who coordinated, along with myself and presenter, who provided us with an in-depth knowledge of the toolkit and all its various components. Special thanks as well to Ms. Janelle Campbell and Mrs. Khadijah Young, who provided invaluable support, and our director, Crystal Bethel, for her unfailing guidance. Again, thank you everyone and have a wonderful day.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a great day, and we'll be relaying the information from this session to you. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
again.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good
Very
evening, everybody.
interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.